currently 12:54 p.m. I just finished watching 2.5 hours of Jake Luton and Kyle Slaughter, and I'm exhausted. The Jags lost 27-11 to the Las Vegas Raiders, but there is a lot to break down, a lot to talk about, a lot of flashes. Got some winners, some losers, but overall in this video, I just want to go over the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, special teams, and just kind of give you guys my take on what I saw. So without any further ado, let's get into the breakdown. You know, even though the Jags lost this game, I still think there were a lot of positives. Got to see the Jags play some football again. It was great to just watch some NFL football. I feel like this offseason has lasted forever. And then we also came out healthy. Just 2 minor injuries from what I can recall. Tyson Campbell with an upper body injury. He was able to come back a few plays later. And then Nathan Cottrell also injured his wrist and I think his ankle a little bit, but he was able to finish the game. So, I mean, we got to watch NFL football again. Jags football's back, and we left the game healthy. So I really can't complain too much. So getting into this recap, I want to start with the offensive side of the ball. Quarterbacks. Kyle Slaughter and Jake Luton. I mean, these are our QB 3 and 4. I didn't have too much expectation for these guys really going into this game, so I'm not going to be too hypercritical of it. They've only had 3 padded practices. Kyle Slaughter's only been in Jacksonville for a brief amount of time. So yeah, there's not too much familiarity there. So I don't think they played horrendous, but by no means did they play great. It wasn't the prettiest game of football I've watched. So yeah, Kyle Slaughter, 13 for 25 for 127 yards and a touchdown. Also coughed up the football on a aborted snap, but they were able to recover that one, so not too big of a deal. Just him and Casey McDermott not on the same page. And then Jake Luton, 10 for 17 for 94 yards. Not too much to break down here. I think the offensive line played well enough. As far as receivers go, I mean, you didn't really see any of the starters play. So yeah, I definitely am not taking too much out of this. Trevor Lawrence is our QB1. Obviously, he's not going to play. CJ Beathard still rehabbing from that groin injury. He was already ruled out way before the game started, so we knew it was going to be Jake Luton. And then Kyle Slaughter is the backup. So yeah, it didn't play great. Nothing too special there. As far as the running backs go, I thought there were some flashes for sure. I thought Snoop Conner looked very smooth and explosive. A lot more explosive and smooth than I had initially thought he'd look coming out of college. The stats really don't show it. He had 4 carries for 10 yards. It's 2.5 yards per carry with a catch for 6 yards. But from the eye test, I thought he looked great. And then you got Sargent. I thought he looked phenomenal, especially in the passing game. He had 5 carries for 22 yards, which is about 4.5 yards per carry, and along with 5 catches for 37 yards. Just really reliable, ran hard. At times ran a bit too high, where I think he should have gotten a little lower, just to fall forward more. I feel like he got stood up a few times in the open field. But overall, I thought he looked pretty good. And then Nathan Cottrell, he got beat up this game, had a wrist injury and then that ankle injury, but was able to finish out and scored the lone touchdown of the game for the Jags. He had 3 carries for 13 yards. And that was for 4.3 yards per carry, as well as 4 catches for 35 yards and that receiving touchdown late in the fourth. So I thought the running backs played relatively well. Thought the O-line gave them enough push. They were able to make some moves in the open field. Receiving game, I thought they all played pretty well. Snoop Conner blocked really well. So yeah, I thought the running backs were pretty solid tonight. As far as wide receivers go, there's really not too much to talk about, other than a little bit of disappointment. The guys you were hearing throughout training camp and the big-time UDFAs, they really were non-existent. Kevin Austin didn't do much. Lawan Willingham had a catch for, I think, 8 yards. It was a really nice catch, though. Really contested, was able to snatch it in, and took a big shot, but held on to the ball. I would have loved to see him get more targets. But yeah, Willie Johnson led the team in receiving with 2 catches for 41 yards. And almost took a kick return to the house if it wasn't called back for a holding penalty. Marvin Hall had 2 catches for 30 yards. I thought he looked really good after the catch until he fumbled. And that fumble was lost. Not too much from the receivers. I mean, the quarterbacks combined for like 200 yards. Most of the yardage came through running backs and then also Luke Farrell, which I'll get into now. Luke Farrell looked really good. 3 catches, 43 yards. Caught a nice 27-yarder, I believe, from Jake Luton. Really nice throw from Jake. Had some velocity to it, able to bring it in, and fell forward for a couple extra yards. And then Garrett Prince, UDFA out of UAB. He had a catch for 6 yards and then a drop. But yeah, I thought Luke Farrell looked really, really good. Overall, offense didn't play too great. Doug Peterson talked about it at halftime. The defense really kept him in the game for most of the game. Just really couldn't produce, couldn't pick up first downs as much as you'd like to see. Had some costly penalties that brought us back a little bit. So yeah, I mean, this is our QB3 and QB4. Running backs, I thought, played pretty well overall. Receivers, you'd like to see those big name guys who have been balling out in camp produce in the preseason. But really not much to be seen there. And again, I mean, we were down to the bubble guys. I mean, nobody with a shot at starting week 1 took any snaps at receiver tonight. So not too much to take away there. And then, yeah, tight ends, Luke Farrell looked really, really good. All right, now for the defensive side of the ball. We struggled up front against the run for a little while and really struggled against the screen game. They gave us a lot of different looks. Typically in the preseason, you see pretty standard looks and not too much creativity behind play calls. But the Raiders kind of came out swinging. They were running a lot of different things and really confusing the defense. So we really struggled up front to stop the screen game, as well as just not getting a great push up front from the entire unit for most of the game. Linebackers really struggled with containment. For example, Chad Muma definitely struggled a bit. I mean, again, it's early, it's preseason, not going to overreact too much. Still phenomenal talent. But yeah, containment was definitely a little bit of an issue. But there were some positives up front, for sure. For example, Jay Tufele had a really, really nice game. It was quiet, but he was wrecking havoc. If you were watching that game and paid attention to him, I mean, he was getting double teamed, even got triple teamed once. But he was causing problems up front. He looks really, really good. Once he gets more comfortable and more familiar and has a better unit around him, I think he can really produce. I think we definitely got a steal with taking him in day 3 of the 2020 draft, or 2021, excuse me. Arden Key, also 2 sacks. He looks like he's going to be a really, really nice rotational piece for us. A really underrated signing from San Francisco this offseason. Just a sack machine. I think he's going to be really nice on third downs, coming in unique packages and just, pinning his ears back and going to get the quarterback. Looks like something he's going to be able to do. Travon, again, Travon flashes. He'll do these things like, oh my God, there's Travon. He broke through. He's going to make a play. And then he stumbles or he can't wrap up. And that happened again tonight. Flashed once or twice. Almost had a sack, but Arden Key cleaned it up because Travon couldn't finish. You just got to finish plays. Really struggles in that department. And it's been that way since 2020, since we drafted him, which is really unfortunate. A guy with a lot of physical traits you like to see an edge rusher have. Just hasn't put it together just yet. And it looks like it's going to continue throughout this year, which is really, sad to see. But again, preseason, first game, not going to overreact too much. And then Travon Walker. He balled. I think it was pretty obvious. I feel like he jumped off the screen. He had a sack, a QB hit, I think 2 tackles and a QB pressure, and then had one called back, another QB pressure called back from a roughing the passer call, which was a weak call. The bull rush and the length of his arms and his strength and his speed, I mean, it was just way too much for that left tackle to handle. I mean, they were doubling him for a while after that. And then another play where he almost blew up a run up the middle, just shot in from around the edge. I mean, a guy 270 with that bend and that quickness is just, you don't see that too often. And he really looks like the guy, worthy of being the number 1 overall pick, which is really cool to see. I was definitely intrigued to watch him play tonight. And I mean, I think he put on a show and definitely gave us something to be excited about for sure. And then in the secondary, I thought Trey Herndon had a fantastic game. In coverage as well as the run game. I thought he came up and played the run extremely well, really physical, and finished a lot of plays. And then Andre Sisco, open field tackling. Even when we weren't getting a push up front, the running back had, a gaping hole up the middle, and it looked like he was gone. You see Andre Sisco fly in, break down, wrap up, finish the play. Just kind of everywhere, just flying around the field like he does. Wasn't tested through the air from what I saw. But yeah, all over the ball. Just flying in for tackles and contributing. And yeah, open field tackling was really, really nice to see from Andre Cisco. And then over to special teams, Logan Cook might have been the MVP tonight. Had an amazing game punting. Had 3 punts that landed within the 20. Averaged, I think, 49.5 yards per punt. Had a really, really nice game, per usual. Such a solid guy to have back there. And then as far as the kickers went, Santoso came in, attempted a 60-yarder, had the distance, just a little bit off to the right. And then Elliott Fry connected for a 46-yard field goal. But that was it from the kicking game. When we scored a touchdown, we went for 2, which Nathan Cottrell pounded in. So yeah, kickers, 1 for 2, made the 46-yarder, just a little bit wide right in the 60-yarder. And yeah, Logan Cook was phenomenal. And just to wrap things up, I'm going to go through my winners and losers. I have 7 winners and 5 losers from tonight. I'll start with the winners. Travon Walker, I feel like he was the biggest winner tonight. Looked phenomenal, just jumped off the screen, just making plays. Arden Key, 2 sacks. He looked like a really good rotational piece to have. Trey Herndon, like I said, really physical, played really well in the run as well as coverage. Snoop Connor, eye test, looked really, really nice. Luke Farrell, really reliable, had a really nice game, 3 catches for 40-something yards. Logan Cook, like I said, really, really nice game from Logan. And then Jay Tufele, if you watched the game and you paid close attention to him, he was extremely disruptive up front, which was really good to see. And then as far as losers go, again, preseason, don't take too much away from this, even for the winners. It's the first game. They've had 3 days of padded practices. It's not the end of the world if someone didn't play great or, made a few mistakes. Still, just kind of working out the kinks, getting used to the system. But the QBs overall, I feel like we're pretty mediocre. Mediocre more towards the poor side. Will Richardson unfortunately got abused for a while, just getting blown back. Then Casey McDermott, I think, was another loser tonight. A guy who's really been struggling with snaps and throughout training camp thus far, and that continued tonight as he had he messed up a snap, resulted in a fumble. Good thing Nathan Cottrell recovered it, but still, that just can't happen. Wide receivers, just as a whole, I feel like nobody really had that great of a game. Willie Johnson had a nice game, but he had a couple drops. Just really doesn't look like an NFL receiver. And then Marvin Hall, even he had a pretty decent game, but also fumbled. So, how do you really balance that out? It's just tough to say. And then Shaquille Quarterman, unfortunately, had a pretty bad game. Again, with containment and finishing tackles. I think he had 3 missed tackles, if I counted correctly. And then Caleb Vaughn, it sucks to say, but he just can't finish plays. The sack guru just unfortunately cannot wrap up when he breaks through, which is really, really frustrating because you see him come in, you see him about to make a play, and it just can't go right. It's kind of similar to Taven Bryant. You'd see him flash, and then a tenth of a second goes by, and he's looking the complete opposite direction of where the ball is. Just looks lost. So yeah, really unfortunate there. So yeah, again, not going to take too much away from this. It's the first preseason game. Like I've said multiple times before, we've had 3 padded practices. The Raiders started a week before us and had a few more padded practices than we did. So again, not going to take too much away from this. It's preseason. Relax. It's okay. But yeah, overall, I feel like the main winner, Travon Walker, really, really cool to see him show out in the first game. Get the fans excited about something. Thank you guys for checking out the video. This is my first recap. Really excited to continue doing this. I appreciate you guys watching the videos, leaving likes, leaving comments. If you're new here or you've been here before, analytics tell me 75% of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel just yet. So if you don't mind taking a few seconds to scroll down, click that subscribe button. Totally free. Can unsubscribe at any point in time. But I wouldn't recommend it. Going to be doing a lot of these recaps and weekly videos all throughout the season. Also, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought. Who you guys thought the winners and losers of tonight's game were. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Really appreciate you guys checking it out. And as always, go Jags.